introduce to those who don't know Reverend Donna Smith, and for those who do, to welcome her back to our fellowship, where today's message will be the mystery of the gift of the blessing. Donna. Oh, I forgot to put that down. She's got that short thing.
Okay, are you up for a little humor? Okay, remember I'm allergic to flying tomatoes, so don't throw any tomatoes at me. So this church hired this painter to paint the outside of the church. So he thought he'd save a lot of money, so he watered down the paint. So he painted the whole church, and then it started raining, and it was just, all of the paint was just washing off. And he said, "Oh my God, what shall I do?" And this thundering voice from the sky said, "Repaint, repaint, and sin no more." Okay. In the Babimba tribe of South Africa, when a person acts irresponsibly or unjustly, he is placed in the center of the village, alone and unfettered. All work ceases, and every man, woman, and child in the village gathers in a large circle around the accused individual. Then each person in the tribe speaks to the accused, one at a time, each recalling the good things the person in the center of the circle has done in his lifetime. Every incident, every experience that can be recalled with any detail and accuracy is recounted. All his positive attributes, good deeds, strengths, and kindnesses are recited carefully and at length. This tribal ceremony often lasts for several days. At the end, the tribal circle is broken, a joyous celebration takes place, and the person is symbolically and literally welcomed back into the tribe. Interesting. No punishment, no demeaning, just celebration. Only expressions of gratitude, acceptance, and joy. This is love in action. And it is a way to settle differences that most of us are not familiar with. In our society, punishment rules. Suing in the courts is our right. Excessive awards can destroy the defendants, but that's okay because they did something wrong. They did not live up to societal rules. So what the Bambima tribe does, and what the gift of the blessing does, is fly right in the face of the ego and the brain. The ego and the brain will refuse to see how this could make any sense, that this kind of action defies reason. The brain is a great calculator, and it operates in a linear fashion. It cannot see beyond linear into the quantum dimensions of life, which is really our true existence. The ego will reject the gift of the blessing because it does not make sense that you are not fighting for yourself. To the ego, the self is the only consideration. So today, I ask that you set aside messages from the brain and the ego that may come up when I give you this information. Just set it aside for a while and listen to what the gift of the blessing is and how it can truly help us. You are a light worker. You want peace. You want to serve and make a difference. And I see that in each one of you. I see it in your eyes. I see it in your hearts. You are a light worker. So remember, you can bring light into the darkness, but you cannot bring darkness to the light. The light is love and the highest vibration and energy in existence. You are a light worker. And if you feel overwhelmed, feeling like you cannot make a difference, I want to share this African proverb. It says, if you think you are too small to make a difference, you haven't spent the night with a mosquito. And I imagine African mosquitoes are pretty big. But light workers work from the light. And it may seem like we are not making progress as we look out into the world today. However, our media is giving us a lot of sensational news, and that sells. And I personally believe that most of it's not even true. That's my personal opinion. However, all that is coming out needs to come out so that we can heal it. Because if it stays hidden, it's there just festering and causing a lot of problems through that energy. So it is good that it's coming out, but it also can be painful, and we have to work through that pain. And we do that by holding the light and not succumbing to the fearful messages that we hear around us all the time. And to remember that light is love. So you are light workers. And your light is truth. And it is strength. And it is the path to peace. It may not look like it now, but with the exposure of those fearful things that are going on, as I said before, it opens it for the healing. And so we must look at these things. So today I want to share with you a powerful process that will keep that door to healing open. It requires that you set aside the ego and the feelings that this doesn't make any logical sense. The ego knows that the light is so powerful that it will dissolve the ego. And what the ego doesn't know is that as it dissolves, it actually is transmuted into love. And that's how it works. So we cannot destroy energy, but we can transmute the energy. Greg Braden, who studies at great length the messages and the wisdoms of our ancients, brings us from the wisdom of the Essenes what is called the gift of the blessing. It is a process to help us hold the light as light workers, no matter what is happening around us. It is a process to help you as a light worker remember that you have come to this planet at this time to help with our ascension, whether you know that or not. And you are all playing a very, very big part in that process. And what that means is we need to release our fears. And by stepping into the light, we actually raise our consciousness, and that helps the whole world raise its consciousness. So why do I think this is important today? Well, with all the negativity that we hear in the media, it is not surprising that we may feel helpless, maybe angry, even for the most spiritually minded person. The world is experiencing its greatest challenges right now. And for the first time in our history, we can actually destroy ourselves. We have that capacity to do that. So what we have done up to now hasn't worked. We all know that, don't we? We have been relying mostly on our brains and our egos to try to get us out of situations that the brain and the egos created in the first place. And as we all remember what Einstein said, okay, we cannot solve a problem on the level it was created. And that's what we've been trying to do. But we're waking up, and we realize that's not possible anymore. We have to do something different. And so the brain is very important to us. It's a great calculator, as I said, and it does what it does very well, but it cannot tell us why. For instance, it can tell you that you're having a pain in your body, but there's no way that it can tell you why, that your body is hurting. Now, we can pray for peace. We can advocate peace all that we want. But if we do not have peace in our hearts, we're spinning our wheels. We are doing nothing to bring peace to the world when we are angry within us that there is no peace in the world. Do you see that relationship there? We have to be the peace. So it's time to pursue ways to get us out of this. And that's why I want to share this gift of the blessing. Now, the gift of the blessing is a quality of thought, emotion, and feeling that allows us to clear the anger and the resentment and hurt from our bodies without condoning what has happened. This is very important that we remember that. We're not condoning these things. But what it does is it allows us to participate in the world and the challenges that the world is showing us right now from a position of strength and wisdom instead of fear. Now, it is a process that allows us to accept what has happened, acknowledge our feelings. We always want to acknowledge our feelings. They're very important. They're telling us something. So through acceptance of what has occurred, the gift of the blessing acts as an emotional lubricant to help us move through the body all of these fears and not get stuck there. Because when these emotions of anger, resentment, and hate and sadness get stuck on our bodies, what do we experience? Dis-ease and unhealthy effects. And we know that now. Our science has been telling us that. The Abraham teachings tell us that we are not sick because we think of sickness. We stay sick once we are sick because we think of sickness. But we get sick because we don't like what is happening in our world today, and we are holding on to it with resentment, anger, and etc. And we are still holding on to anger and talking about something that happened to us 25 years ago. Okay, that's what makes us sick. And then once we're sick, again, we hold on to it because that's what we're thinking about, is that we're sick. So why does the gift of the blessing work? Well, there's this field, of intelligence that permeates all. It's within each and every one of us. And science has finally accepted this. They call it, the quantum hologram. The Noetic Sciences Institute calls it nature's mind or God's mind. We know it, we feel it. As light workers, you feel it, don't you? Yes. Our universe is a hologram, and knowing what a hologram is, we understand that each of us is a holographic piece of our universe, and each of us has the whole within us. You recall those holograms from way back when? Yeah. Cut them in two, and both has the whole image in it. Doesn't matter how many times you cut it, each piece has the whole image in it. And that's what we are. Each one of us is the whole universe. So this means that our consciousness is holographic. So if a change occurs in any part of consciousness of anyone, it is mirrored throughout the collective whole. This is why prayer works. This is why distance healing works. This is why a mother knows that something has happened to her child who lives clear across the country at the moment it happens. And this is why our prayers for peace in the world and our healing prayers can and do work. But we must have that peace within our heart for it to be powerful. Our universe is a living, breathing entity. And every part, every person, every tree, every rock, every galaxy, everything is so important. And I want you to remember that you are that important. The universe cannot exist without one of us. So that's why it is important that we change our thoughts and change our feelings from fear, hatred, and anger to those thoughts of love and acceptance, understanding, so that we can make a real difference in this world. Greg Braden compares our universe to a computer. The hardware is our physical world. The operating system is our consciousness. The software is our feelings and our prayers. If our consciousness is being fed the software and feelings of hatred, despair, hopelessness within it, that's what's reflected out into the world. So we must clear out this software. In other words, uninstall it. Uninstall the fear. And download the new software, which is love. In fact, I love visualizing, and that's a really good way to visualize it. When you start feeling that, just think of yourself as a computer, and you're going to uninstall that one. You know, we've all done that in our offices, I'm sure, uninstalled and installed. So it's a good way to help us remember that. So then, when we do that, that's what's reflected out into the world. Okay, and it's very clear now that we must be the change we wish to see in the world. That famous saying. There's an ancient Native American legend that we came here as a family a long, long time ago. And for reasons we may never know, we got lost and forgot who we are. But we long for that relationship so much that we had with the divine part of us that we began to build these complex technologies outside of ourselves. All of those things in technology that we have created, including telephones. But guess what? All of this technology is within us. Greg Braden and others have said that when we remember who we are, we don't even need any of these technologies anymore. The Native Aborigines still communicate through telepathy. These things in our native cultures around the world are still alive. But we have power to heal ourselves through changing our thoughts, changing our software in our computer. So I know that many of you probably have heard about the power of thought to heal, and maybe you have experienced that, instantaneous healings. Those are the things that we can do, and we don't need a machine to help us do that. We can do it with our thoughts. That's how powerful we are. So we're kind of like the waves in the ocean. We're always connected to the divine ocean, but we get raised as a little wave, we come up so we can have this experience, but we have never, ever been disconnected from that ocean, our divinity. We have never, ever lost any of the power of that divine ocean. It is still within us, and we have just forgotten. So those are some of the reasons why this works, the gift of the blessing. But the main reason is, it is impossible to be in a place of judgment or polarity when you are in the presence of the gift of the blessing. So that gives us that break. Our consciousness must be cleared of anger and rage before we can begin to receive the gift of the blessing. Now, there is no power in fear. We can experience it and we can give it power, but there really is no power in fear. And so we must transcend the fear in order to motivate us to think those thoughts that are going to be powerful. Now, the process of the gift of the blessing is this. There are three components to our hurts. Those who suffer, those who inflict the suffering, and three, those who witness the suffering. Those could be the ones left behind. In order to give and receive the gift of the blessing, we must bless those things that hurt us, and we must bless all three components. Now here's where the ego and the brain is going to step up. But let it go for a little bit. And they might be telling you to resist this. But I ask you to at least look at this as another tool that we can use to help us bring peace on this planet. Now, using this process, you may need to do it again and again until it has moved the emotions through your body. You may experience this with tears, and that's wonderful. That means you are moving it through. My experience has been that you will know it immediately, that you have let go of that energy and you're looking at it from a higher point of view. It will be very apparent. Now, until you move these emotions or anger through your body, you will never be able to access the wisdom and the guidance that comes through from your divinity. Now, to bless someone is to see the sacredness in them. That's our definition today. Now, it's easy to bless those who suffer. Now, we have mirror neurons, and what that means is when we see someone else suffering, we feel it the same as if it were happening to us. Those are called mirror neurons, and they've been documented by science. That's our connection. Why else would we feel that if we were not so connected? Now, it's much more difficult to bless those who inflict the suffering. Here it is important to remember that those who inflict the suffering are divine beings. And to look at them as being so steeped in fear that they think they're doing what they should do. And we also remember that when people are steeped in fear, they are insane in that moment. And whatever an insane person is doing in that moment, it appears sane to them. So when we begin to get that understanding, then we can do things that will help, because retaliating and all of that is not helping, is it? We've done that for years and years and years. So we must see the fear in them and respond with love, because if we respond from fear, it's perpetuating fear. That's all it does, and we need to get out of that. Now, again, this does not mean that we condone their actions. This does not mean that we don't take them out of society so that they won't harm others. But it does require that we use the wisdom of love to help them and not condemn them. We must remember they are a part of us. There's only oneness. And our society is built on punishment. If you do not live up to societal rules, you are punished. Punishment doesn't work. And that's been shown, and that's been proven too, because it breeds resentment and even more harmful actions. And we've seen that happen over and over again. So what if we eliminate punishment and instead work on rehabilitation and acceptance, looking at them as a part of us that needs assistance, reminding you again of the oneness of life. As the Ubuntu say, I am because you are. The Bambima tribe is a real-life example of the gift of the blessing in action. So we bless those who witness the suffering, which includes those left behind. Could be us. You may be experiencing being the one who is suffering, like I say, or you may be the witness. That you bless yourself as a witness also. So as you do this process, you will at some point not only give the gift of the blessing, you will receive the gift of the blessing. In giving it, you begin to accept and understand what has happened or what is happening, and then you can transcend it. You have to accept it first. You don't condone the actions, you just accept this has happened. And that's a difficult step, I understand. But you cannot transcend it until you accept it. In receiving it, you actually undergo a change in your thoughts and your body. Your heart begins to lead the way, and you begin to feel the love and the connection and the compassion to all the parties involved. And once your heart begins to lead, then you will be receiving your divine wisdom, and you will receive the guidance that you will need to help in every situation. This then changes the patterning, the dynamics of the healing can then begin. New options appear that weren't there before when we were operating from fear. Because when you lead from your heart, you're in your wisdom. all of a sudden there's all these different things. I've been reading a book lately that I'm just amazed. We have a lot of these things already happening on our earth. And as soon as we get out of the bottom line, profit instead of profit taking care of people, we will do these things. We already have all the answers. So I have used this process since I first heard about it in 2008. I have used it in some really major events in my life and a lot of the smaller ones. It is an amazing process that will help you not only increase your understanding, you will have a sense of freedom. And when you have that sense of freedom, that's when you know that your divine guidance is going to help you through all of it and will tell you what it is for you to do. Sometimes that might be nothing, I always ask, is there something I can do here? Sometimes it's no, and that's okay. That's not our part. But when you ask, you will be given the answer. And you will be given the answer from a place of wisdom from the heart. So I want to take us into a meditation this morning that is going to give you just a little bit of the process. So close your eyes and take some deep breaths. Let your chair support you. So just for a few moments, let go of the world. I want you to be very aware of your body so that you can be present right now in this moment. I want you to breathe and feel the air moving through your body. And as you exhale, imagine you're just releasing fear, worries, any thoughts about the past or the future. Just be here now. And now I ask that you focus your attention on your heart. Be with the silence in your heart for just a moment. This silence is actually your higher self. Your higher self is always silent, but it always guides you. So from this wonderful place of love and acceptance, bring forth into your awareness an event that has hurt you. It can actually be a personal event or maybe even a global event. And place it in your heart. Physically envision it going into your heart. So now we're going through the process, and first, let's bless the one or the ones who are suffering. This may include yourself. And be as very specific as you can, even names. And just bless those who are suffering in your heart right now. We've surrounded them in the love of our heart. And now bless those who are inflicting the hurt and the suffering. Again, be specific. Put them in your heart. They are a part of you that needs love. Now we're going to move to the one or the ones who are witnessing the suffering. And this always includes you. It includes those that are left behind. Or who may be looking from a distance. Put them in your heart now. And hold them in the wisdom of your silence, your higher self. You may be feeling the emotions moving through you, or you may feel very little. But whatever has happened this morning, I encourage you to give the gift of the blessing to your situation again and again until you do feel the emotions move through your body. Do it until you have received the gift of the blessing, until you feel that freedom and that empowerment. So please take just a few more minutes in the silence of your heart. Allow. So let's take one more deep breath as we bring our attention back into this sacred place. That's the gift of the blessing. Remember what Rumi said, if everything around you seems dark, look again, you may be the light, and you are the light. You are the light workers. And I'm so grateful that we are the light workers. So, bring your attention here. So I'm going to teach class this afternoon, or after this is over. We're going to do the fourth agreement from the four agreements, always do your best. And next month, in January, I'm going to start a new series. And we're going to go much, much deeper into what it means to raise our consciousness. Because this new year, 2024, is the year that we are going to be accessing the unity timeline. And what that means is, for the last few years, we've all been working very diligently on ourselves and our own timeline to increase our consciousness. 2024, we're going to unite all of this, and we're going to be unstoppable. That's going to be the light that we've been talking about. And it's empowering is when we all come together. So that's the unity timeline for 2024. So I'm going to be doing a lot of teaching on these principles of how we can unite with all of this and come together. And I want to remind you that this is not a light versus dark. Now the dark can be against the light, but the light is not against the dark. Okay, the light is here rescuing the darkness from itself and returning it to a place where it remembers its true self. That's what we do. We don't fight, because then we're in fear. what we do is we help remember. So that's what we do, and we're gonna come together in 2024 and really do it. And so I'm very much looking forward to our classes this next year. Anyway, thank you so very much. Happy holidays to you and your families, and I appreciate you paying attention to me and not throwing tomatoes.